You're listening to the Belly Dance Geek Clubhouse at bellydancegeek.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Nadira Jamal, and welcome to the Belly Dance Geek Clubhouse. The Clubhouse is a place where dancers can get together and geek out on all of the things that are hard to get in classes and on DVDs. It's really easy to get help with the what, so things like learning new moves, learning combinations, choreographies, but it's really hard sometimes to get help with the why and the how, so things like composition, musicality, professionalism, history, culture. And so every month I'm going to interview a different guest expert on a different geeky topic, and we'll always have question and answer time so you can geek out too. So if you think that knowledge and creativity go together like chocolate and peanut butter, you are in the right place. My guest today is Samira Tu'ala. Samira, also known as Elisa McAfee, started her belly dance life at the age of 17 in Salt Lake City. She dove into the professional realm relatively quickly and ended up migrating to Las Vegas in 1996, where she worked at various local restaurants, as well as Caesar's Palace and the MGM Grand. In 1998, she graduated from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, with a BA in health education and a minor in women's studies. And after a brief stint in the Peace Corps, she returned to the States and started a career as a professional ballroom dance instructor. During her 7 years as a co-owner of the Arthur Murray Dance Studios in Las Vegas, she developed regular monthly events for the belly dance community and started organizing the Las Vegas Belly Dance Intensive in 2003. Although Samira has been a dancer since 1991, she eventually realized that her passion was creating community through dance. The regular monthly haflas and the Belly Dance Intensive are extensions of her love of the Las Vegas belly dance community. As her events have outgrown her ability to manage them on her own, she's collected some of the brightest and talented individuals to assist her in continuing to provide community dance events to Las Vegas and the world. You can check out her prime work at bellydanceintensive.com. So thanks so much for coming, Samira.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk about how people can get the most out of large dance events. But before we jump too far into that, I'd like to get a little bit more background about the Las Vegas Belly Dance Intensive and your experience organizing that. So can you tell us how this event got started?
Sure. It's kind of a funny story, actually. I had started organizing these little local haflas just because I had the space. Like, I had this dance studio I was helping to run, and we had access to space, so we just started having little parties every month, which I ran consecutively for 11 years. And in one of those early haflas, I was having a conversation with a local professional by the name of Aradia. We were, just talking about how frustrating it was that we had such an amazing array of talent here in Las Vegas, but we didn't really showcase it very well. That we didn't get a lot of people, hosting workshops of, featuring our local teachers. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. So in a whirlwind couple of months, I threw together a little weekend where I just invited all the local teachers to come teach a workshop. I think at that point in time, the first year we had like 14 local instructors, and I think we had just barely a few more attendees. I think we had like 20. It's hilarious now, but, so maybe 20, 25 people that first year. And it was totally just tiny, intimate little weekend gathering, and we had a hafla that night, and, it was really just about bringing all the locals together. And, every year it just kind of grew. And I've learned a lot along the way. I made a tremendous number of mistakes. And, which is part of the learning curve. I mean, you learn as you go along. Like, for example, I wasn't very gracious that first year, and I didn't schedule any breaks. I just assumed people would come and they'd take some workshops and they'd take a break if they wanted, and then they'd jump back in yeah, that was wrong. Like, you can't do that. Those dancers are insane, and they will dance like all day long, but they're like literally shaking at the end of the day if you haven't given them and forced them to take a break. So I got better about those sort of details along the way. So this year is year number 12. And, you know, like the first 2 years we were, in fact, the first 3 years, I believe we were at the Art Marie Studios. The first year we were at 2 separate locations. In fact, the first 3 years, there were 2 locations in Las Vegas. So I would have the beginning track in one location and the advanced track in the other, in 2 separate areas of town. So it was very disjointed. Another thing that I learned along the way. So in year, I think the 3rd year, after 3 years, the 4th year, and we moved to a larger dance studio in town that I rented that had like 3 rooms and gave us the ability to all be centrally in one place. We were there 2 years before we outgrew that space, and then we went to Palace Station, which was kind of close to the Strip. It's about 2 miles off the Strip, and I really loved being there. It was a really fun place to be. I mean, full on 1/5 of all the hotel rooms would be taken up by our belly dancers over the weekend. So we just kind of took over the whole hotel. It was really fun. But we outgrew that space in 2 years. Like, they just did not have enough convention room space for our needs. So in 2010, we made the leap to the Flamingo. And that's where we've been ever since. And we're currently contracted through 2015 there. So it's on the Strip. It's definitely a whole different ball game and experience being there, especially for our attendees. Like, it's very easy to get lost because it's a very big hotel. So, yeah, there's a lot of walking, and it has presented its own challenges in terms of just trying to direct people where to go and signage and things like that. So there's a lot of challenges in that regard. But the nice thing about it is that it's all on one level. It's all on the 3rd floor, all down the same hallway. And they have enough convention room space that we've been able to grow, and we could continue to grow there for a while. So
excellent. And, you know, with something of this scale, how many people does it take to put this thing on?
Right. Well, in the early years, it was just me, and then I had a couple people come on board as directors, and now I think I have 11 directors total. So we have someone who handles all the vendors and manages, you know, making sure that they're all on the map and contracts are signed and all that stuff. We have someone who takes care of the volunteers, because it truly takes an army of volunteers to make the event happen. We have someone who's in charge of marketing, like putting all our graphics together. Sometimes that's me, but most of the time it's not. And then we have someone that, like, husband kind of married into this job, and so he's our director of registrations. The poor man had never attended a belly dance event until 2010, and that was when he was a director. So he had no idea what hit him. This is terrible. He had a heart attack 4 days later, so it says something about it, the insanity. So anyway, he's fine. But anyway, yeah, he handles all the registrations that come in and answers questions and helps get people their schedules and where to go and stuff like that. I have someone who runs our contest. That's a fairly new position. We have someone that also runs the festival. We have an entertainment coordinator who she does all the auditions for the pro show, and she actually does all the scheduling for the festival as well. And then the festival director runs the festival the day, you know, the event, during the actual event. Gosh, who am I missing? I have like just, you know, technical people that help with the website, social media, stuff like that. So there's about 11 of us on the team that put it all together. It's a small army, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, for a major event like that, that's actually not that many. I mean, we've got, like 4 or 5 different tracks going on at the same time, plus the contest and the shows.
Right. Yeah. I suppose it's not a lot of people. I just know that I couldn't do it all by myself. That's for sure. I certainly appreciate the people that are on my team. They've been pretty instrumental in just the growth of the event and helping me manage all the details, because it really is a lot. I also have a good friend of mine who comes down and she's my personal assistant the week of. Her entire job is to keep people away from me. That's she's the gatekeeper. She's the one that decides whether something's serious enough that it escalates to the level of Samira. So
I want one of those.
I know, right? I can't live without her. She's just the best thing ever. So. And that's not meant to be a mean thing at all, because certainly when it comes to the attendees, I want to have a nice, hostess sort of relationship. I want to be able to talk to people and be friendly. This really has more to do with just, little things that creep up, someone forgot their ID and they're upset or whatever, things like that. So, someone cut their toe on a coin and you need a Band-Aid, we don't have to run to Samira for that. We have a first aid kit at the front desk, so. We're prepared for those sort of things. So,
yeah. So when it comes to big events, you are definitely the person to talk to. So, let's talk a little bit about how people can make sure that they get what they need out of a big event like this. And, it seems to me like the best way to get the most out of a huge event like this is to know what your goals are. So what kinds of things do people look to get out of huge events like this?
Well, I think that there's a lot of different reasons that people go to participate at a festival. So for hobbyists, a lot of people come because of the education. They want to have an experience where they get exposed to a variety of topics and a lot of different teachers, and they get to learn something new. So if education is the goal, then, for sure, walk into that with understanding that that's your goal. There's some other reasons, like networking. We get a lot of instructors, and not just, we have a lot of instructors. I think this year we have 43 instructors. So, yeah, we have a lot of instructors who are teaching at the event, but we also get a lot of instructors who attend the event, and they bring their troops and their students, and we get people from all over the country. And so this is a really great opportunity for those people, especially if they're wanting to break into the circuit, if you will, in terms of being seen and getting to know people and, wanting to get hired at other events or things like that. Yeah, we also get a lot of producers and other event promoters who even come. So, networking is certainly a very valuable aspect of this event. I think one of the things that makes me the happiest as a producer is when I hear stories and feedback from people who have either taught or performed or been involved in my event in some capacity, that then have also, as a result of being involved in the event, then were offered additional compensation, like another gig somewhere or some other way to make money or income or whatever. When I help somebody on their career path, I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction that I was a stepping stone along the way, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
seems like there are an awful lot of hidden jewels out there, and so it's really awesome to bring those forward.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's been relatively unique about the intensive, maybe that has separated itself from other events. And I know there are other events that do this now, so that may have been changing. But when I first started this event, because it was really predominantly based on local teachers, the whole concept behind this was let's have all the locals come together. And then eventually what happened is as it grew, we just started letting other people come in. But essentially, as I was really resistant for a long time to even have headliners at my event, because I really wanted to keep the local focus, but it just kind of outgrew my ability to control it. So I kind of conceded, and here we are. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I listened to the feedback that I had received from people, and we started bringing in headliners, which is great, but I guess I've always just had this vision that this event was going to be about diversity, and I always wanted to make sure that not only were we continuing to include our local instructors here in Las Vegas, but that it wasn't all just about the headliners. Like, I wanted to give people an opportunity to be involved that weren't necessarily big, huge names yet, you know, on their journey, on their way. And so over the years, like, I've kind of developed this 3-tier system in terms of selecting my instructor. I'm so off topic right now, but you know, like, it kind of goes into the networking thing, I suppose. But there's, you know, I have headliners, I have what I call featured instructors, and then I have my local instructors. And the featured instructors are the people that are coming into my Las Vegas community from outside of Las Vegas. So, but they're not necessarily on the docket as headliners. And typically what that means from my perspective is that I'm not necessarily paying everybody's travel expenses, because I can't afford to do that. But it gives these people an opportunity.
Instructors.
Right, yeah. I would love to, but it's just not even feasible. So I do my best to compensate those teachers and to give them an opportunity to study. I think it's a win-win, typically, sort of, typical package. When I have someone coming from out of state, I do pay them, but then I also compensate them with additional workshops and a credit towards just being involved. So it's a chance for them to also network. But what has that done is it has created this space where my event has allowed people to launch careers in ways that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And I like, one of the better examples is probably Rosa Noreen. Like, when she submitted to teach at the event, I don't think anybody had heard of her. I mean, she was, Portland, Maine, way up, far away. She wasn't a name on my radar in any capacity. I'd never heard her name. But as we went through the submissions and the applications that year, her work just really stood out to us as something different. That we liked her videos, we liked her graphics, her presentation, her presence, and we didn't know her at all. But she had all of the things that we were looking for, and so we took a risk, in a sense, and put her in that featured teacher track, and it springboarded into a more, bigger career for her. She has gone on and traveled pretty extensively and done a lot more as a result of her involvement with my event, which I think, is one of those things I absolutely love. So if your interest is in networking and springboarding your career, then you can definitely use, in fact, I highly recommend you use larger events as a way to do that as a platform. And, not just my event. I mean, of course, I would want everybody to come to my event, but there are lots of events out there. I mean, so Tribal Fest is really great in the Tribal Fest community, and there's a lot of others, East Coast, and there's Ricasa, and I mean, I can't even name them all, I'm afraid, because I might offend somebody by leaving them out. There's just so many really great events out there, and I think and I'm really good friends with a lot of these promoters, the other organizers and stuff, and there's a pretty tight-knit community amongst the promoters. So that's one of the things to be aware of, I suppose, is if networking is a part of your goals, be aware that your behavior at any event can affect your career at other events, and that's really more of for the career path person. I don't think the majority of the people going to events, so typically I don't think that's necessarily their goal. I do think camaraderie is a huge part of it, just, so that would be my next perspective on, what your goals might be. So education, networking, and then just camaraderie and friendship, and having the experience of being with a larger global group of dance brothers and sisters. And I think that's a very powerful experience. I mean, and sometimes I'm a little concerned that technology it might take that away from us somewhat. I mean, I think technology can bring us very close together, but there's something very real and tangible about physically being in the same place at the same time. That doesn't happen in any other capacity. Like, you know, we can all be on Skype at the same time, but it's not the same thing as being in the same room at the same time. And there's something really magical about that experience. But if you're going to an event to have that experience, it's a different goal than going to get an education. So if you're going to get an education, your focus should be on getting as many classes as you can, you know, making sure you have a notebook, making sure that you get permission to record, like audio record teachers if you can. I mean, it's a totally different mindset and approach than if you're just going to have a good time. If you're going to have a good time, maybe you don't take as many classes. Maybe you scale it back a little bit. You give yourself some more time for shopping. You budget for shopping. Everyone should budget for shopping because it's one of the best ways to shop, right? Like, everybody should. I mean, I know everybody shops online too, but it's so much more fun to like be in a place where it's like a mall of belly dance stuff.
And you can see the shape of the bra cups up close and maybe even try it on. That alone is magic.
It's totally magic, yeah. So yeah, and then, I mean, for sure, performance opportunities is definitely something that would be another aspect of a goal. Like, so we have at the intensive, we have 3 different distinct performance opportunities, if you will. Like, the first one is a pretty general opportunity that's open to anybody. Our festival stage, all you have to do is submit an application. We don't even charge for it. Like, we don't charge people to perform in our festival, and we don't even charge people to attend our festival, which is totally wacky. But that's where we're at. We don't do that. So it's a very affordable thing to do. I mean, but even if you're going to a different event where they do charge, it doesn't matter. The point being is, if your goal is to get out there and to have an experience performing, that festivals are a great way to do that. And so your approach to that event is going to be very different if the vision is dancing on a festival stage, you know. There's a lot of prep work that goes into that, making sure you have costumes and makeup and jewelry and, you know, your material and your music, and you're adequately prepared. So for someone performing on a festival, depending on when your schedule is, might determine how many classes you take or how you pace yourself through the weekend. So that's definitely another mindset to consider. So the festival is definitely one aspect of performing that is open to pretty much anybody at our event. We also, and this is another area that we're somewhat distinct in terms of dance events. We also have our pro shows, but we don't, at a lot of events, the pro shows typically are made up of the instructors, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a totally fabulous approach. Other events are very successful at that. Again, because my personal philosophy has always been about diversity and inclusion and trying to make sure that we have a nice, well-rounded, diverse show, I didn't want to create shows that were strictly based on who was teaching. Also, I philosophically believe that just because you're a good teacher doesn't make you a good performer, and just because you're a good performer doesn't make you a good teacher. So I wanted to separate that. I've gotten quite a bit of flack for that over the years, but I think I've landed on my own, and I like that approach, and I see other events starting to take that approach, and so, you know, I hope that was a positive contribution to the community. But so at my event, you can audition to be in our pro show. You don't have to be a teacher to be in our show. Our pro show auditions are open until April 5th, typically, of the year. So the 2014 event, the auditions will close April 5th of 2014, and in 2015 it will be April 5th of 2015, et cetera. We kind of have this annual calendar. And this is a really great way to be seen. This is kind of an extension of the networking thing, but it's definitely more of a higher profile, because you're definitely going to be seen on video, you're going to be promoted, you're going to get your name out there, and typically there's a lot of promoters or teachers or other people that may want to sponsor somebody sitting in the audience. So I've had a lot of success over the years seeing people that we showcased in our pro shows get hired to other things. So I always am excited about that. And then the third opportunity to perform at our event is the competition, which is probably the most complicated aspect of the event that I've ever created. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? But it's been so powerful and rewarding to like see how this contest has developed. This is our 5th year, and it's being sponsored by Dr. Farag and Sphinx Records, so we're really grateful for that. This is kind of loosely based off the elimination contest that you see on television. So our contest we have an audition for, and everything takes place at the event. So on Thursday night of the event, we have an audition where the potential contestants have to learn 2 very different styles of choreography and then perform them in front of a selection committee, and then the committee chooses 12 people plus 2 alternates to go into the first round of the contest. So then on Friday, those 12 people learn a choreography at the freaking crack of dawn, and then they have to perform that choreography that night in the show. And then the audience votes and the judges vote, and 6 people move on to the next round, which is on Saturday. So those poor 6 souls have to get up at the crack of dawn on Saturday and learn a new choreography, and then they have to perform it that night on stage. And then we choose a winner, and the winner, like top 3, all get a full package to another belly dance event out there. And the first place winner gets $500 cash, and this year Rockin' Monkeys are giving them a custom-made sock monkey belly dance doll.
Oh, I want that.
Right, and then Rob of Candlelight Video Productions is going to do a custom promotional video, which is huge. It's such a huge award for the top winner, to have some professional footage all edited, and anyway, glorious prizes and stuff. So that's, competition's an interesting thing. I was very hesitant about dealing with it for many years, but I think that competition can be very positive if you create that environment. And our choreographers have done a really exceptional job of just creating a very positive space for the competitors. And it is always just a really amazing journey that these people go through. And it's a very unique contest because it's not like you get to show up with your costume and your routine and the things you've practiced. Like you totally are thrown in the deep end, and everybody feels it, and it's a totally different ball game. Oh, and then the winner does get to do their own thing on Sunday night at our after party. So for the winner, it's a 4-day affair. So, but regardless of which event you're at, if a competition is a part of it, or you're attending an event that's specific to being a competition, that's a whole different perspective that you walk into an event with, because it's competition can be such a profound way to push yourself to do better and to be stronger and to focus in a way that you wouldn't do if you weren't under that pressure. So as long as you walk into it with that perspective, it can be a really empowering sort of experience regardless of whether you win or not. It's more about the self-improvement aspect of it. So yeah, so that's definitely another perspective. Boy, I've talked a long time on different ways to approach events, but there's just so many different reasons that people come to an event, and so it's hard to address just specific, there's a lot to say. That's a very broad topic.
As it should be, otherwise we couldn't support a big event like that.
Right, for sure.
Right. So, you know, with all these different goals, right, learning and networking and getting your name out there and shopping and performing and competing and camaraderie, you know, with so many different goals and so many different options about what to be doing at the event, especially at a big event, like a festival style thing where you have multiple sessions going on and different things to pick and choose from, you know, in addition to your goals, what should people be thinking about when they choose which class to take or which show to sign up for or which, you know, panel discussion to go watch?
Well, I think you need to walk into any event knowing your limitations. So, and knowing the environment a little bit too. I mean, like, I'm in Las Vegas. This is a desert. Like, I don't think people get that sometimes. And, like, I really try hard to push the whole drink water thing because it's a desert. And so here's the thing. If you're super young, 20-something, and you can stay up till 4 drinking and get up at 2 or, you know, get up at 6 and be ready to go and you don't have an issue, that's a totally different stamina approach to an event than if you're in your 50s and, you know, like it's a hobby. And, I mean, there's just, so know your own personal, physical, and mental and emotional limitations because you can really, really overextend yourself, you know, and we call our event the intensive for a reason because it's very intense. It's 4 days of intense study, you know. So, you know your physical, your own personal limitations, and then have your goals in mind so you know how you're approaching it and stuff, and know your budget. Like, you know, I've tried really hard to make it possible for people of all walks of life to show up and attend my event. So sometimes I think people look at the full package number and they're like, I can never afford that. Well, guess what? We have all sorts of ways for you to show up and be a part of it without doing the full package. So if you want to just show up, you don't have to pay to watch the festival or to shop. That's affordable. You know, you can carpool with people. You don't have to fly unless you live in Greece. That would be difficult. You know, so like you just have to know what your personal budget is, and there are ways that you can do this on a shoestring if you want to. I don't want to encourage people to be cheap because I think that it's an investment in yourself, and it's certainly worth every penny to invest in your own education and your own health and your own body and your spirit. And, you know, like it's certainly something that if you can afford to do the package, do the package. But if you can't, just know what your limitations are, know what you can do, find a way to make it happen. I've seen some miraculous things when people get motivated. There was a girl on Buzz one time who was like, I want to come to your event so bad. I don't know how to do it. And I was like, well, let's brainstorm. Let's come up with some ideas. And, you know, we found her a roommate. She found someone to carpool with. She sold a bunch of her old DVDs and, like, made enough money to like, pay for her part of the hotel room. I mean, you know, like, she just did all these she had a garage sale. She did a bake sale. I mean, she just all this crazy stuff to come to the event. I mean, you know, and so if you know, it's just really cute, and I think it's very endearing to me that someone put that much effort into coming to my event. But you know, if it matters to you and you want to get the most out of something, you're going to find a way to do it. So for sure, understand what your budget is. Goals. Let's see. Well, and you know, if you're choosing classes, as far as the educational perspective, like know your level. Are you beginner? Are you advanced? Are you, how long have you been dancing? And, you know, some people have been dancing 6 months and they think they're professionals. And, you know, my vision has always been to have different classes at different levels. And so I want the advanced classes to be more challenging, and I want the newer classes to be basic. So I have an entire track devoted to beginners because I want them to have a positive experience, and I want them to be able to learn the art and the dance at a pace that they can digest. Now, it's still a 4-day event, and you're still cramming a lot of information in your head, but I still want it to be appropriate to their level. And then the advanced classes, you know, I want them to be challenging. So if you're a brand new dancer who's been dancing 6 months and you think you're advanced, I want you to be frustrated. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but I don't want those classes dummied down. And I've told my teachers, if someone that's truly a beginner shows up in your class, they should not be happy. And you should not dumb down your class for them. Like, you know, if they walk out, I'll transfer people if I can. If there's open space in a beginning class and someone's not happy because they're feeling over challenged, I mean, we'll do whatever it takes to make people happy. But people need to recognize their own level and to be honest, because someone taking 3 classes a week for a year is going to be in a different place than someone who's been taking 1 class a week for 5 years. Like, the amount of dedication and focus that you have, your dance level, your understanding of things, it's just going to be different based on the hours you've invested in your own education. So just be realistic about that. If you have a particular flavor, like you're really totally passionate about Egyptian stuff and you really don't like anything to do with fusion, then don't sign up for a fusion class. You know, or vice versa. If you really are, if the fusion and tribal stuff really speaks to your heart and you just don't like the Oriental stuff, that's totally fine. Just don't go take an Oriental class. Like, stick to the things. And that's not to say you shouldn't, like, expand your boundaries and that you shouldn't try things out there that might give you a new perspective. But it also means that, you know, we have a lot of options. And you can, you know, you're not stuck with any one topic. I mean, typically on Saturday and Sunday we have 5 sessions going on, at like 5 tracks of classes going on at any given moment. So you're bound to find something that you like. And that speaks to you and that resonates with you. And don't feel obligated to do every single class. You know, it's okay to, like, take time off to chill. I wish those people the first year had figured that out. Those poor people, I'm telling you. Like 9 hours of straight dance or something insane. I don't know. It was nuts. So, I don't know. Yeah, now I force people to take breaks. So, anyway. Did I cover it? Did I hit most of those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, you know, a question that's not so much for your event specifically, but, you know, more in general, you know, if, you know, you're interested in a session and you can't tell from the description what the level is, do you find that event organizers are usually pretty helpful in clarifying that?
Yeah, I try to be. Sometimes I'll ask the teacher. Like, I don't always have the answer. So, I mean, if someone writes me and says, I have no idea what this means, I'll usually try to paraphrase it and get them in touch with the instructor who can give them a much better description of what it is. Now, I do my best to vet out the instructors and to make sure that they have the adequate class descriptions and all of that stuff. I mean, that's kind of my job as a producer, is to make sure that we're putting accurate information out there. There have been occasions that a teacher has showed up to the event and then just changed their topic without discussing that with me. Yeah, that's like, this so does not make me happy. And just, you know, for the record, like, if that, you know, if that happens at an event you're attending, just go talk to the producers. They're usually more than happy to make things right. And just recognize that sometimes we don't have control over all the people that we're working with. But so I do my best to make sure that I'm hiring people who truly are professional, are going to put their best foot forward, they're going to give you adequate class descriptions. This year, thanks to you, you're doing these amazing interviews, so that certainly clarifies things for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, if you're attending an event and you don't know what the topic is about, by all means, reach out to the producer, and they're either going to be able to clarify it or they'll ask the teacher to clarify it. Sometimes that's been really helpful, just for the record. Like, sometimes I've had people who are like, I thought it was, you know, I need help clarifying this, and then like, it gives me a fresh perspective. Like, I see it from new eyes. And I've been able to get feedback from the instructor, and I'll make a class description change on the website and, you know, expand on it, sometimes that's really helpful to get feedback from people. So, you know, for sure, reach out to people if you're not sure. I mean, we want you to have the best experience possible. Every producer feels that way. I mean, I can't imagine anybody wanting their people to just be upset and sad at the end of their event. I mean, we want you to have a great time. You know, we want you to have a good time. Tell your friends, come back, bring your friends. You know, we want it to be positive. So if there's anything that we can do on our end to help clarify things or help, you know, guide you in the right, I get people every year who will ask me, this is how long I've been dancing. Will I be okay in this class? And truthfully, the people who are asking usually are fine. They're self-aware enough to know that they should be asking, which is, you know, I mean, there's always problems with any time that you have levels, because levels are defined differently by different teachers. So what may be advanced to one teacher could be intermediate to another. So these are all very loose definitions, and sometimes people get really upset at that. And there's very little I can do to control what those definitions are. And I mean, there's thousands of belly dance teachers out there. I'm not the one who determines what those levels mean. But I try to be fair about it, and I try to express to my teachers what I think a level should be, and we just do our best. But I can't control who is going to sign up for classes. I do hope that the instructors in any given workshop are going to be professional enough to recognize when to stop somebody from upsetting the pace and the flow of the class, because they're holding the class back, you know. But that's a skill that individual teachers develop over time. So that's going to vary from event to event, from instructor to instructor. Like, no matter where you go, you're going to run into a classroom where there's going to be someone in that room you don't like that's upsetting the flow. And that can be challenging for anybody. I mean, that's kind of part of the reason that I started doing leveled tracks, because as a ballroom instructor, we used to go down and we'd have these big seminars, and we'd always be thrown in these general rooms, and half the people in there were brand new, didn't know hardly anything, and the rest of the class was advanced, and it was really frustrating. And I think there's nothing more frustrating to be at a professional seminar expecting to get really great training, and then like having people ask questions about very simple basic concepts that everyone in that level should know. And so, you know, that was kind of always my theory. It was like, let's have a place for the beginners to have their needs addressed so that they're not in the way of the other people advancing their educational goals. Is it a flawless system? No. I have asked my headliners if they feel like there's a difference. They have told me that they notice a distinct difference between the beginning track and the more advanced classes, so I see that as a win. But a lot of events out there, don't necessarily have that same approach. And so a lot of times you'll go to an event and they're all just general level classes, meaning anybody of any level can attend that. And so, you know, do a little research on the teachers that you're going to study from. I mean, if they've been around a really long time and they're very established, they probably have skills to deal with that, you know. As a ballroom dance instructor, I would have, you know, classes where I would have 70, 80 couples in a room, and I'd have to be able to teach the beginners as well as the advanced dancers at the same time. And it's definitely a challenge, and it's a skill you have to develop as a professional. So if somebody's a relatively new teacher, they may not be as strong in that ability. So know that going in. Do a little research about the people you're going to study with. I don't know if that's helpful, but you know, because it's such a personal skill, you know, as a teacher that you develop, and there's just going to be, and I suppose if you end up in a class where there are people who are really frustrating you, you can, again, talk to the promoters or ask the people if there's some way to interject or whatever. Most of the time I leave that up to the teachers, but if there's a severe issue, we'll address it. Most promoters will, I would imagine. So.
Yeah. And, I think that's one of the nice things about an event with, like, a whole bunch of teachers like this, where the community aspect is really big, is that, if you find yourself the one in the room who can't keep up, it's because the social aspect is so big. I found that, both being on the teacher end and on the student end of this, the teachers tend to be really open to talking with you afterwards. Right? It's not like I'm the big headliner and I need to go take my break and I can't be seen again until the show, right? It's you people are interested in meeting you and hanging out and helping you out. And I find that that's a really nice quality of these, non-solo events.
Yeah, I think that, there's so many great intimate experiences that happen. I mean, we get classes of every size, so of course it's going to depend, but on those things, it's hard when you have a class of 60 people versus 30 people. It's a different energy and a different experience. But for sure, I find that most of the teachers are very open. And then again, if something is really just beyond your level, depending on the event that you're at, sometimes you can move into a different class, or sometimes you could just take a break and go watch the festival or do some shopping or whatever. I mean, sometimes there's different options in terms of how you cope with those sort of things. So, I'd also just encourage everyone to be respectful of people in the classes anyway. Make sure that you use proper hygiene and, you wear deodorant and that you don't wear really big, coin, loud hip scarves, and, that you're discreet in terms of, most places I don't imagine allow you to have food in there, but we usually have people with water and things like that. So, be respectful. Try not to be very noisy. If you're going in and out of the classroom during a class because you have to use a restroom or something, do it with as minimal amount of noise as possible. There's just some general rules that if we all adhere to them, will make it a better experience for everyone, no matter where you're at,
So we've talked a little bit about goal setting and, picking and choosing your content. So it seems like one of the biggest impediments to actually getting what you want out of an event is not so much learning it as retaining it. So do you have any tips for making sure that you actually remember what you've learned after this crazy intense experience?
I'm a huge advocate of note-taking. I mean, and I know a lot of people don't want to do it during class. I get that. I'm not that person. I'm the person who has my notebook by my feet, and I'm constantly writing things down. Not that I'm not particularly good at revisiting my notebooks, but just the act of writing, just, you see it written, you experience it physically, you do the movement, your recall is going to just be substantially better. So even if that means at the end of the class you just take 5 minutes and write down the highlights, that's so valuable. It will help you a lot. Some instructors allow you to videotape portions of their class. Of course, you must always get permission before you do that. Sometimes they will allow you to videotape other people. So, if they've taught a short, choreography or some combinations, I've had instructors that will be like, I don't want you to videotape me, but I'll play the music and you guys can videotape each other, and they'll have a group of students that'll do it at the end of the class or something like that. That can be super valuable because obviously you can review it. So if you have a smartphone with the capability of taking some, quick video segments, for sure, take advantage of that if you get permission. It's a great way, to establish recall. Take the classes with your friends, and then practice together when you get home. You know, like it's super helpful because people are going to have different perspectives. And so if you have 2 or 3 of you, you know, you and your troop mates or other people in your city or people you're traveling with, it can be super helpful. Also network with people in the class so you get to know each other and connect with each other on social networks. So afterwards you can contact someone and say, I don't remember this, or I thought it went like this. Do you recall that? I mean, like, so get to know the people in your classroom. Find out where they're from. Find out, you know, be social, like exchange numbers and email addresses, stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do in that regard. I think that that's very helpful. Get in touch with a teacher. You know, most of the teachers have their own newsletters and mailing lists. A lot of times the teachers will send out notes. Personally, I still believe it's so much better to write it in your own words because you're going to retain it better. And I'm not very good, like I said, at coming back and revisiting notes. So if a teacher emails me notes later, I very rarely really take the time to look at it. Everybody's different though. So if that works for you, by all means, like get on the teacher's mailing list, stay in contact with the instructor. If it's an instructor that lives near you, take some classes from them. If it's someone who travels, maybe get to another event and study with them again if you want. I mean, sometimes it's a sampler, you know, like you're not going to learn everything you want in one session from one teacher. But I often think of my event as kind of like a cruise, you know, like you take a cruise somewhere and you stop at various ports along the way and you have this really great experience and you get to see a lot of different things, experience a lot of different things, but it's a totally different experience than staying in one city for an entire week, you know? Mm-hmm. So like that's why there's such a huge difference in terms of what you retain from regular workshops, like a regular class that you take from a regular teacher. I mean, that's a totally different experience. So you almost have to understand that there's going to be you're just not going to get every single thing you need out of one class from one teacher. But the cumulative effect is really what you're going for here. And you know, anything you can do to increase your knowledge is going to be beneficial, and think of it as an opportunity to explore and discover if it's something that you really want to learn more in depth. Oh, and teachers have a lot of times they have DVDs you can buy. So there's products and accessories that can augment what you've learned in a workshop. So by all means, take advantage of that. If you really resonate with the teacher and they have a DVD on a topic that's similar, or you just love their learning style, support that artist and, you know, purchase their DVD and take it home with you.
Yay. I'd also like to add to that more and more people these days are teaching on Skype. So even if the teacher isn't near you, but you want to dig deeper into their style, a lot of times they can just do a private lesson from anywhere.
Yes, this is true.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it is.
And actually, if I can add one more thing to something you said a while back about taking video on your smartphone, just make sure you have room for that, because I was literally at an event last month with Rosa Noreen, who you just mentioned, and I was filming her piece in the show for her, and she was going to film for me, and we did them both on my camera, except I ran out of space halfway through her show.
Oh,
so just
right.
make sure that you know, as part of your packing list is to just make sure you have enough space on your phone.
Right, or that you have a way to, like, I mean, like, there's so much good stuff these days. Like, you might be able to Dropbox it. You know what I mean? So you can record it and then Dropbox it and get it off your phone and not, you know what I mean? So you can take multiple videos, but still just get them off your device. So that can be nice.
Yeah, plan.
Yeah, or bring your laptop with you and, like, you know, download everything in your hotel room, you know, something like that.
And allow time for that in your plan for the day. If you're going to be up for the show until midnight and then you're taking class at 8 a.m., but you know you have to download your videos, expect that to take half an hour.
Right. Do it while you're taking your shower in the morning, you know, or whenever you take your shower.
That's a good one.
Right? Like, I mean, you know, there's just, that would be something I've learning how to multitask, you know. So if you can have something downloading while you're taking a shower, putting on makeup, it's a win. So.
Excellent. So, let's move on a little bit to just some of the logistics of making it through a festival. It seems like one of the things that comes out of a big event like this is like this massive case of festival fatigue. It's like, I had the best time ever, and, even though I didn't drink at all, I'm going to feel hungover for 2 days because I'm so exhausted.
Right.
What are some of the things that go into, getting so run down from these events?
Yeah, it really is discipline. You have to have some self-discipline here in terms of how you pace yourself, and what you can handle. Like I took a seminar weekend not that long ago. It's been a long time since I jumped into another event and a learning experience, and I just like not in the same physical shape as I was the last time I took a workshop. And wow, boy, howdy, did I feel it at the end of day 2. I literally couldn't walk any longer. I seriously, the last 2 hours of the day, I just watched. I couldn't even move. I was so sore. Yeah, that would have been me not pacing myself. So I can tell you I can tell you how to do it, but not necessarily from like the best personal experience. So I'm like the antithesis of what not to do. So you should definitely like know your limitations and try not to push yourself beyond that. So I think it's kind of hilarious because I have the worst festival fatigue of anybody every single year after my event.
Well, you're in charge.
But I'm the producer, so it's a totally different ballgame. But, as far as, just understanding your limits is the biggest one. But then making sure that you definitely plan for things, like making sure that you have healthy snacks around, stuff that's going to sustain you, something with protein that you definitely in my city, and I'm sure this is true across the board, but we're in a desert. Like, you have to stay hydrated. Like, you may think you're drinking enough water. I guarantee you're not, especially if you're coming from an area of the country that has, is not as arid and dry as the desert. Like, it's going to catch up with you so quickly. And it's probably one of my bigger concerns as a producer is just keeping people hydrated. Like, I make sure I have water stations in every classroom, and we're constantly filling them up. And it's drink water. So, staying hydrated, making sure that you have snacks. Do some advanced research. I'm kind of an impromptu fly-by-night person sometimes. Like, I'll just show up to an event. And that is not always the best way to handle it. Like, I always have a better experience when I have done the preparation ahead of time, and I know, especially if you're traveling, because you need to know what food is nearby so that you can either hit it in your grocery store or know what restaurants, especially if you have any food sensitivities, you really need to do advanced research, because that's not something that a producer necessarily can. I do my best to make sure that I send out a letter with, here's a list of restaurants you can go to, here's the places with, healthy options, here's the nearest Whole Foods, here's the nearest Trader Joe's, here's the nearest whatever, I try to do that and anticipate the needs of the people coming to my event. But not every, I can't always anticipate if you have a gluten sensitivity. I don't know enough about that to be able to necessarily guide you in the right direction. So be a little bit responsible about knowing what your needs are and finding out where it is ahead of time, so that you, especially when you're in a big event, there's a lot of things crammed into a very short amount of time. So you need to be prepared for that. So, we have an hour and a half break for lunch. So that may sound like plenty of time, but in Vegas, that's not so much time. Like, if you're going to go eat at one of the restaurants, you need to get out of Dodge, get down to the restaurant, get in line, get into the, and there's a food court, so there's different options. But, if you're in another city and you only have an hour for lunch, I've been to plenty of workshops where the producer hasn't allotted for people coming in from out of town. Like, people who are local know where to go, or they might have brought their own lunches, but people who are traveling haven't. And so they need more time. They need more time to arrange transportation and where to eat. And, they might need help getting places. So, you know, be prepared. If you're going to a big city with a group of you, I mean, you know, if you're going to rent a car, make sure you have a GPS or some way to get around so you know where you're going. Not everybody has venues that are like, I mean, I'm really lucky. I have a bajillion restaurants and food options on site. Like, the most convenient thing ever is to just show up and never leave. Like, there's entertainment and there, you know, like I'm really lucky because I have a venue that has so much. There's a spa if you want to go out to the pool. I mean, you know, like, I'm really super, yeah. Like, I'm tired of this class. I need a longer break. I think I'll go just lay by the pool and have a margarita. You totally can do that in Vegas. But not everywhere is like that. So you have to, you know, you just have to know where the restaurants are and what food you need, and you have to plan for that. So be aware of those things. Do some research ahead of time, you know. And then make sure you go to bed at a proper hour. It's so easy to be tempted to just go out and party it up with everybody. And, you know, I can't even do that as a producer. Like, after the shows, like, I may go get a bite to eat because I'm starving, but then I have to go to bed. Like, eventually you have to go to bed. You have to sleep eventually. And you'll function so much better. You'll retain more information. Now, if your whole purpose is networking, go party, whatever. Go hang out with everybody, get to know people. But if your purpose is education and your purpose is, you know, to, like, be engaged in the workshops and stuff, from that perspective, for sure, get to bed early. We have complimentary yoga warm-up on Saturday and Sunday morning. So and we, believe it or not, have people who get up early and do yoga. It always amazes me, but they do. And so, like I think it's awesome that people are, they get up and they take care of their bodies and they stretch and they warm up and they're prepared mentally and physically, you know, walking into a classroom. I think that's really important. You know, if you find yourself on overload, take a few minutes to just step outside. There's nothing wrong with walking out of a class and spending 10 minutes just breathing somewhere and then regrouping and going back in. Like, I know that there's a little bit of, you know, stigma about never leave the classroom, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Your mental health and your mental state of all of that is super important. So don't make a big deal out of it. Hey, everybody, I got to take a mental break. I'm leaving now. I'm picking up my loud bag. You know, and don't be like that, obviously. Just be discreet. Just politely, discreetly, quietly exit the room and go breathe if that's what you need to do. And that's totally legitimate and okay. There are times maybe you need to go to your hotel room and just have a break. Zone out. Take a nap. That's okay. You know, you don't have to be on 24 hours a day for the whole event unless you're the producer. Then you have to do that. But everybody else should take some time and, you know, just take some meditation. Do what you need to do as you go through it. So, and then just have a few minutes to just be there. You know, I think sometimes we get so caught up in what's next. We just, sometimes we're so busy, it's almost like we miss the experience that we're having in the moment. And I think it's really important. And I try to do that myself, like, especially at the shows, as I'm getting prepared to walk out on stage, I always have just a little moment of silence of, here I am again. And we've somehow managed to pull this event off again. And this is really beautiful and magical, and we should just cherish this moment right here, right now. And I think that's a very powerful thing when you have those moments. And, you know, you have to be conscious. You have to create those. You can't just go 24/7. It's important to take a moment and just be like, wow, I'm in Vegas or whatever. You know, I mean, like, I just have moments where I'm like, wow, we did it again. Usually my moment for me is on Sunday at our after party when I know we're, like, almost over, and I'm, like, totally happy dancing with everybody on the dance floor and stuff like that. And I usually have, I mean, like Lee Corkett captured a photo of me last year just out there hugging and dancing everybody. It was ridiculously funny. He posted it, and I didn't even recognize it was me, like for 2 days. And then I was like, wait a minute. That's me. It was hilarious. But it's because I was having a moment. I was so in that moment that I wasn't even aware he was taking a picture. So it's good that I'm so glad he captured that because it's nice. It's nice to have those moments. You should walk away from every event with some moments that you cherish, that you're going to hold on to, you know? So.
That is like such a lovely statement. I kind of want to end it. But before I do that, I should ask you, is there anything else that you think people should know when they're going to a big event like this? Do you want to close on that beautiful note?
I know, it's such a lovely, refreshing note, huh? It's like plan, and then just breathe.
Like dancing.
Like dancing. I know, it is. You do all this preparation, and then you just have to enjoy it, be there. So, yeah, I don't really think I have much to add. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions and all that, but that's for sure a nice note to end on.
In that case, let's go ahead and open up for questions. So those of you who are on the webcast, if you have a question for Samira, you can type that in on the question box on the left. And if you are on the phone, you can press *2 to raise your hand. And while we're waiting for those to come in, if people do want to try out all of the techniques that they've just learned here at the Las Vegas and Belly Dance Intensive, how can they sign up?
Oh, well, if they want to come to my event, I would love them to come because it just makes me so happy and we have a great time. And it's pretty easy. It's just www.bellydanceintensive.com. So, not too bad.
And I think you alluded to this, but you've got like a full event package and you've got little a la carte. So it's something like $30 or something really reasonable if you want to take just one.
Yeah, like I think it's $33 for just an individual class on the weekend. The longer 3-hour classes are a little more. You can buy individual tickets, you can buy the package, you can buy bundles. We have, we have all sorts of options. When you get to the website, there's a little image on the top right. It says register now, and if you click there, it'll take you to the shopping cart, and you'll see the options. Additionally, we do have payment plans for people who maybe want to do the full package but can't come up with all the money right away. And that's been very popular with people. We do have early bird discounts. The price goes up June 1st, so this is a great time to secure classes if you're taking that package. And then assuming you come to the event, the absolute best price of the whole entire year is we always release it at the event. So like the best price for 2015 will be offered to those at the 2014 event. So if you're on site, you get extra special bonus for signing up early. And we do payment plans for them too. So we want to make it accessible and easy and affordable, and no matter who you are or where you're coming from, we want to find a way to help you out. Oh, and if your budget is totally strained and you just really, really can't even eke out $33 for a single class, we do have work trade agreements for volunteers. So you can earn some classes. No, you cannot earn a full package. You can earn some classes. If you are on a full package, there's no way to volunteer because you don't have time. But for sure we can help people who truly are having a financial difficulty. We can help out with work trade agreements, so we have that in place as well. So
nice. Now you also have a really generous cancellation policy too, don't you?
I do. I'm like one of the only events out there that does cancellations. Like we have refunds that we'll offer. Typically it's like 90 days before the event is roughly, so I think it's June 1st, is from then on is kind of what I call the lock-in period. So up until that time, you can get a full refund. So if you register now and then, middle of May, you find out, you can't make it because someone's getting married, we'll do a full refund, less the credit card fees. It's like 3% or something. So we have a small fee just to cover the expenses that we have to pay for processing. And then after that, we'll do 75% refund or a credit. Like we do that on a case-by-case basis, but typically it's 75% of the money that you've paid less those processing fees. And then 30 days, like before the event, you're locked in. We don't do refunds after that. But, you know, that's pretty reasonable. We'll usually know if you can't make it before 30 days. And even then, like on a case-by-case basis, sometimes we'll do a credit. We don't usually do a refund, but we may up to give you a credit or partial credit towards the following year. So we want to work with people. We're not out there to, you know, just be greedy and get your money. We want you to attend the event. But we also realize that life happens, things happen, and we want to be conscious of that and aware of that and be accommodating. Customer service.
That is not something I've seen anywhere else, so that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just find that most people don't ask for refunds. Most people that want to go. I mean, I get a few every year, but they're usually legitimate, and, you know, it is what it is. I just plan for it, so I don't mind.
Excellent. We don't have any questions in yet. So again, those of you who are on the phone, you can press star 2 if you want, or if you're on the webcast, type in your questions on the left side.
I put them all to sleep.
And I do want to add 2 more things. One is that I'm going to be at the intensive, so if you want to meet me in person, I would be thrilled to meet up with you. And
Yay.
Also, I'm going to be doing another series of little mini interviews, so a lot like the Clubhouse, but a whole lot shorter, with some of the other instructors. We've already got 8 of them filmed and posted, and then we've got a few more coming up soon. So if you want to hear nice personal interviews with some of the other instructors and find out what they're teaching and why that benefits you, you can do that at bellydancegeek.com/Las Vegas. And those are, again, nice short things that you can, you know, listen to while you're waiting for class to start. They're not necessarily
and they're so cute.
Oh,
I love
you.
them. They just are really fun. Like, this is the first time that I've done little audio snippets before, but not usually this detailed. And gosh, I just love them. They're really fun to listen to, and it's such a great way to get a feel for the teacher and their personalities and what they're going to present. And I love it. That's great. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, I think that makes such a big difference, though, like when you're going to an event and, like, you're like not sure who you're going to take from and, like, this one sounds cool and that one sounds cool, but you know you can't handle them both. It's sometimes nice to just get a feeling for the person you're going to be learning from, and you can kind of tell who's going to resonate with you and who's not your style.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely awesome.
Okay. Well, I still don't hear any questions, so you must have answered everything that people are interested in. So I think we will call it a night. Well, thank you, Samira.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And if anybody has specific questions that they want to ask me, I'm happy to connect with them with my email, which is Samira, SAMIRA, at bellydanceintensive.com. They can drop me a line anytime.
Excellent. And don't be shy, people. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This is the end of our call, but that doesn't mean that the conversation has to end. We've got a private Facebook group just for Clubhouse members. I'll send out an email shortly with an invitation to that link. And that will also include a link to this call recording, so if you want to hear it again, you can do that. And I'll also include links to the Belly Dance Intensive registration page and also to the payment plan link if that's something that you need, so you can find it easily. And also in that email, I'll include a link to the Clubhouse survey, because I run the Clubhouse, but it's for all of us. So I really want to know what topics you'd like to hear, what speakers you'd like to hear from, and any other way that I can make this more useful to you. Now, our next call is going to be Sunday, April 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. My guests are Anasma and Linda Faoro of the Urban Belly Dance Collective, and they're going to be talking about how to build a career as a fusion dancer. So we're going to talk about that both from the artistic sense and in the business sense. So if you're a fusionist, you really want to hear this one. And even if you're not, this can give you some insight into less traditional outlets for the dance. So even if your dance itself is traditional, but you want to move beyond, the restaurants and haflas and the more standard belly dance community stuff, there should be a lot of really interesting stuff there. And finally, the Clubhouse is the come on in kind of Clubhouse, not the no boys allowed kind. So if you know anybody who would like to join us, you can invite them to do so at bellydancegeek.com/clubhouse. And until next time, happy dancing. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening. For more geek-tacular resources, visit bellydancegeek.com.